All right, so let's take a look at where we left off last time. We have our character, and there's the garage, there's the exterior of the house, things like that. Now, ideally, we want to, I'm going to tweak this a little bit, so we want to make sure that our house is kind of, everything's sort of on point and that our character starts in a location that's indicative of gameplay. So maybe we'll move our player start, which, if you remember, is essentially the starting position of where our character is going to come from and when we create our own character. So let's say in this particular game, and this is going to change throughout the entire lecture here, is we start off on the patio and we need to find a key to get into the house. So let's start modeling some walls. So I'm going to go from select mode here and go back to modeling. And your homework essentially is going to be to model every wall, window, and everything. It's really just gray boxing. So something a level designer or beginning environment artist might do. And then you're going to block out all of these things as little cubes. So it's a fair amount of work, and that's why you have a week to do it, but it's not difficult work. So let's take a look at how to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cube, or select box here. And what I can do is just sort of drop the box in the corner here. And I'm going to left click to do that. And then I'm going to press escape to lock that in. Now I'd like to edit this. So I'm going to go to poly edit here and I'm going to click on this left wall. You can see we have this little move locator here. So I'm going to move this over to the side here. And it looks like we have these two kind of, let's see, what do we have down here? Yeah, they're kind of like, well, I guess these are windows, right? Let's see. Oh, this is the garage. So this is the garage doors. So there's, yeah, these little windows. So I think for me, I'm not necessarily too concerned about the the windows on the garage, but I'm going to make these walls a little higher here. So notice that we have this corner here and we need to keep going this way. We could create another cube, but they give us some pretty good tools that'll help us, and that's located within this same poly edit. So what I can do is use my extrude tool, for instance, and when I go over this, you can see I can left click and it sort of extrudes out that face. So let's actually shift this one in and do the same thing. And notice I'm clicking this. Now if the snapping feature gets a little annoying for you, you can turn them all off up here. So see how it says enables grid snapping, this is for rotation and this is for scale. And that gives you a little bit more freedom. So I'm going to go ahead and click extrude again, and then just click in here, select this face. I'm just going to close up this garage, and then extrude one more time. Now something else you can do is say you get this far and you're like, oh, I don't want to fiddle with it. There's a different type of modeling where you can actually click on this insert edge loop and you can add a cut. So let's kind of look at it more on the inside here. And I can add a cut on the inside of this wall here. Kind of give myself a little room. Now, if you're coming from another modeling application or you're an artist, I'm going to click done to accept that. You might feel like, oh, this is very familiar to you, or it might feel wonky, right? You might be like, well, that's kind of wonky. I don't really know if I want, maybe I'll just model it all in Maya, and that's okay too. But for this particular assignment, we want to really get you comfortable into gray boxing or level design. So same thing here. I'm going to extrude this out. Now you could grab another cube to shape this, or you could go to duplicate here. And what that did is that duplicated that face, so we can kind of move it here. Otherwise you'd have to shape the cube. And then with that face selected, so let's kind of move it here, we're going to hit extrude. We can extrude that out. And let's extrude once more. Now let's look over here. It looks like it closed it up, which is good. Otherwise we could use the fill hole tool. Extrude that. Now another tool, if you don't want to duplicate it, is we have some other tools. Let's see what we can use down here that might be cool. Because right now we're just sort of focusing only on modeling. So these are some great tools, these create ones. So there's poly extrude. So what I can do is I can left click and just sort of trace out this general shape and then close it up. And then when I move my mouse up or down, you can see we have something like that. And I'd like them all to be roughly the same size. So I can either switch my perspective view to one of these or really just go back to Poly Edit, select that face, and just eyeball it. Now let's press play and see what the garage is like. So see how tiny the garage is? So generally I would create a, here I'll hit escape. If you go to simulate here, you can go in and you can see what's going on and watch your bots and stuff. But normally you create a size reference for your character. So something like this, and then, you know, you can size it up and be like, okay, well, you know, she's really almost as tall as the garage. So let's just go ahead and I'm going to hold shift and select all, select all of those. One thing that always irks me about Unreal is the alt rotation and stuff tools are the same as the copy tool. So if you hold alt and you move this, you can copy. So some people like it. I'm not a big fan. So let's just kind of select these top pieces. So, holding shift as I click on each one of these. Then just move those up. So something like that. And for your doors, so let's go ahead and hit, I hit escape instead of enter to lock that in, so I lost it. But you know what? You get the idea. So what I'm going to do for the doors here is I'll leave that up to you. You can either use poly extrude or cube. So if I create a cube here, hit escape, and poly edit, and I'm just looking for every door. You know, you can, in your own level design, you can make a decision whether you want to have them up or not. So let's leave in ours, let's hit escape, or accept rather. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold alt and duplicate this door. Now, if I want to put one up, what might be easier is this pivot point here, or this location point. I'm going to go ahead and move it. So if I go down to, let's see, pivot, maybe I passed it, let's see. I think I have to be in poly edit mode to do it. There we go. And then is pivot down here, or is it down here? Let's also hit W so we know. Oh, it's under transform, forgive me. So actually, let's turn off poly edit. There we go. So if I click on pivot, you can see it's showing me where the pivot is. And I can go over here and hit center to center it, or I can click on top and it'll move it to the top of the model. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit enter to accept that. Ooh, looks like it kind of messed that up. Maybe the duplicate screwed it up. Let's try that one more time. Pivot, top, and I'll click on accept instead. You know what? It looks like, let's do this because this is not a, this is a reference when I copied it. I'm actually going to right click and let's see. I don't want to copy actor file path. I'm going to show you how to duplicate this sort of in the where these, and this is actually pretty good because it's showing you where the models are located. So if I right click on box 2 and I go browse to asset, you can see under this local admin folder, here's the box. So if I double click it, I can access it. But if I hit F2, I can rename it, or double click in a hard press. Come on, F2. Well, let's try renaming it this way. There we go. So I'll name this garage door 01 underscore SM for static mesh. And I can right click in here and I can duplicate this. And then I'm going to add my 02 here. Now this duplicate is not the same. So if I drag this and place it here, and really all of these have got to go into a modeling folder, which we'll do next time. And notice my pivot is still screwed up, so we're still messed up. So if I hit pivot here and then I center that pivot, or I go to top here, and I hit accept rather, now you see I can actually play with that pivot and I can have my garage door sort of up in the air. I can also hit R and scale it, and it's not going to mess up this particular garage door. So now when I press play, you can see it's a pretty tiny garage, but we have one up and one down. So as mentioned, just to briefly go over what your homework is, I want you to go in here, adding all doors and windows, but all basic gray box values, right? So this here, and then inside of areas like this kitchen or the bath, and really spend a little bit more time than me to really kind of scale that out and make sure it looks right. And if you do that, it's okay. Like if you need to scale out things like this, you know, like or edit it, you can go to poly edit mode. And play with those values. But let's see if we got anything else here. You can go in here and sort of grab all of this here and then just shift it over. So something like that. You probably will have to play with, let's get these over to the scale of those garage doors as well. But yeah, so accepting that. And then in here, for example, the mudroom, I want you to sort of decipher or look for pictures like, are these going to be stools, something you sit on? And then just go in and grab a cube, place it, and then escape, and then just sort of, again, very basic modeling, nothing too crazy. It's all gray boxed, you know. And so this is definitely not an assignment you leave till the night before. This is something you should take, a significant amount of time on. And also don't forget, like, we can accept this, and then let's see if there's a way to, I believe if we hit Control C and Control V, if we move that here, let's say, and then let's try that pivot one more time, see if it instanced it. I don't think it did, but let's see. See pivot. If I move it to the top and hit accept, yeah, it looks like it shifted that one below. So it did instance it. So you have to do the duplication method that I showed you previously. Also, there has to be a way to just sort of duplicate it in the scene. I'm probably missing it, or it's one of these options. So once I figure that out, we'll definitely look at that in the next video.